This is the $849 Aune SC9 Pro with Bluetooth. At a $570 premium over the SMSL RAW MDA1, you might be thinking, this is no-brainer. It's going to be a better DAC amp combination, but also be crowned my next desktop reference unit. But a lot of companies can get the DAC and the amp right, but ruin the design and implementation. iFi's Neo IDSD 2 was just the most recent that I reviewed. A $900 DAC amp that leaked sound from the RCA and balanced outputs, had a dim display, made noises when you were changing things in the menu, and put a cheap plastic cutout over the top third of their product to allow an internal Bluetooth antenna to work, instead of keeping the quality metal case and making the Bluetooth antenna external. As you can plainly see from the Aune, the Bluetooth antenna is external, which not only allows for this lovely case it comes in, but as scientific audiophile members only know, is the potential for a $1 million business waiting to be exploited. The first thing you'll notice is the SC9 Pro is big. Just look at it compared to the RME ADI2 DAC FS. I would imagine too big for some people's desktop use. Yet, this is where it belongs, your desktop, because it's too small for stereo hi-fi use. No, not too small in physical size. Don't be daft. And not too small in terms of inputs and outputs either. Too small in design. What does that mean, you ask? It means Aune made their first design flaw by not including a power on-off button on the remote control. In fact, the front of the unit doesn't include a power button either. You can only power off via the switch on the rear. That's the only option. And I've said before, bad things can happen when you blindly feel on the rear of a unit. In my opinion, that instantly eliminates its use in a hi-fi system. And Aune doesn't specify how much power it consumes, but the Aune S17 Pro consumes about 35 watts. So if the SC9 is anywhere close, that's almost 25 kilowatts per month. And with the US average of 16 cents per kilowatt hour, just leaving it on will run you about $4 a month. Do you really want to add $50 a year to your purchase price? Probably not. So now you're going to have to get off your fat ass and walk over, reach behind the unit to turn it off every single time. I'm way too lazy to do that. Well, lazy might not be the right word. I usually fall asleep inebriated from drinking too much wine. For me, the SC9 can only live in one place, my desktop system, where I'm always within arm's reach, so I can turn it off. And I'm kept upright in my chair, so when I am inebriated, like right now, I don't fall asleep. The Aune has two listening modes, Mode 1 and Mode 2. At first I was thinking, genius. The marketing people didn't make up some stupid BS names like Air Mode and Veil Mode. They mean nothing. Then I read the documentation and found out that Mode 1 is Standard Mode, which is a tuning mode Aune designed. The other mode is Pure Mode. Well, why not just say that on the display, Standard and Pure? There's room on that display to show those names. And even if there wasn't room, Mode 1 should have been called Aune, so you know you're using their tuning, and Mode 2 would just say Pure. Needless to say, the difference between the two seems to be a slightly warmer sound when using Mode 1. It's very subtle, but for people who don't like completely transparent DACs, Mode 1 will probably be more to your liking. My preference, and for all my listening tests, I stuck with Mode 2, Pure Mode. As an audiophile, I want purity, like I do in my women. Which is why I'm unmarried, never have been, and haven't dated in well over a year. As Diane Bish once said in an interview just before she was supposed to leave to California to perform in the cathedral in Oakland, I'm trying to find a woman who's never been born. I like to take notes when listening so I can remember just how a product sounds, and it makes doing a review much easier. Multiple times I stopped taking notes. I just sat there enjoying the music. Bass was deep, controlled, and powerful. Bish's masterpiece Speak to Me was brought to a new height that I never heard before, via the headphones. I always thought that headphones, which is the preferred way of listening to this album, lacked a little bit of punch. But that wasn't and isn't the case when I listen using my hi-fi reference system, the Tannoy DC8 Ti's, Yamaha AS2100 integrated amp, and SACD player. Now finally, I don't need a new pair of headphones. The Aune brought this entire album to a level no DAC headphone amp combination has before. I still believe the RME ADI2 FS is perfect, and the punch I'm getting via the Aune, and not the RME, is purely the magnificently more powerful Aune amplifier. The RME just runs out of punch, which is spec'd at about 1.7 watts. And no, I don't listen at 70 or 80 dB. I listen like an audiophile should, at deafness levels. Bitch's music deserves, nay, requires the raw power of God, and the Aune S9C delivers. We discussed the power button issue. There are some other issues with the interface, minor as they are. You should be aware of them. There's literally no menu. Now, I don't care about playing with filters. A properly implemented filter should be perfect, and you shouldn't ever hear the difference between them, unless it's designed to be heard different, which is another way of saying you don't want perfect sound, which is the antithesis of being an audiophile. So I don't care about filters, but there is no way to turn off the display or change its brightness. You're not going to change the preamp mode. Again, there are simply no options to do this. For me, I always want my desktop DAC amp in preamp mode, so this is another reason why the SC9 Pro just isn't ready for hi-fi application. I do love the lack of a gain control. Put in a magnificent amplifier, just like a hi-fi amp, and just keep cranking. So while there is a beautiful simplicity in not having an interface with a ton of confusing options, be aware that if this isn't set from the factory the way you want it to operate, you're not going to be able to get it to do anything else. What an amazing difference in the product I'm trying to replace the RME ADI2 FS and this Aune SC9 Pro Bluetooth model. The RME is loaded with so many options and an interface design that is known to confuse geniuses the world over. With the Aune's strikingly simplistic interface, which lets you do nothing more than switch from headphone to line out, change the volume, switch inputs, switch listening mode, and there's only two at that. So this might come as a surprise that the Aune SC9 Pro is still able to earn a 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon from Bryant Family Vineyard. If you're not familiar with this $850 bottle of wine, it's probably because you spend too much of your money on your teeth. And we're going to pair this exquisite wine with a filet mignon cooked in a rosemary butter sauce to a perfect 115 degrees Fahrenheit. We're leaving out the mushrooms and the cream and a side dish, since Aune left out all the options that would have been made this the perfect product with a menu and all different types of changing of the display and brightness levels. But overall, this is a stunning unit. I have said it time and time again that DAC amp design has progressed so far in the past few years, with so many being completely or nearly completely transparent, that it's almost impossible to tell the two products apart, regardless of price. I've heard a ton of DAC amps from as little as $99 all the way up to $4,000. And I've said it time and time again. The only difference between any two products is physical design, from looks to inputs, and the only real differentiator being amplifier power, of which we all prefer more. I even said this very recently. That is acoustically uncompromised. So now I'm going to eat crow right here and now and declare the Aune SC9 Pro the absolutely best, bar none, DAC amp I've ever heard. That includes my beloved RME ADI2 FS. It may be nothing more than the amazingly more powerful amp that allows me to play so loud without ever passing 2/3 up the volume. Because I'm certain it's as transparent a DAC as any other, but I'm literally never, ever enjoyed music more from any headphone amp than this one. And that includes units twice to 5 times more expensive, and even at 1/3 the price. And while the Aune SC9 Pro Bluetooth will 100% be gracing my new desktop reference system, I need to give a big shout out to the $279 SMSL RAW MDA1. If I gave out awards for best value product, this is unquestionably the one that would win. Under $300, definitely the best DAC amp I've ever tested due to its powered amp and amazing interface, and honestly a better form factor than even the Aune for desktop use. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you want more low-quality content sent to your notification screen. Thank you, and have a great day.